I was done at 16, showing up for class. I was out there in the brain, learning how to kick some ass. I was done at 16, using my mama's key. It was all on me, it was all on me. Weren't no free rides, weren't no IOU. I bought my way, yes, I paid my dues. And I showed up to enlist on the first day of recruits. How about you? How about you? I'm my brother's keeper every chance I can. And I pay my taxes like any working man. And I feel I've earned my right to choose. You don't get to play God, man, I do. You don't get to play God, man, I do. You get to run the world in your special way. You get much more than you say. Government, religion, it's all just patriarchy. I must insist you leave it one thing to me. Just leave it one thing to me. Just leave this one thing to me. Just leave it one thing. 'Cause there's one thing that a man needs to be truly free. This is the modern world, and that one thing is money. But there are two things that a woman needs: control over her own body. Yeah, I pay the price on top of everything. Each month a bill, each month a reckoning. And each seed that dies, I cry and I bleed. So you can't tell me, you can't tell me. Yeah, I am a soldier, it's my blood that flows. I give my life so that this tree can grow. You don't know creation like I know. So you can't tell me, no, you can't tell me. You can't tell me, no, you can't tell me. You get to run the world in your special way. You get much more than you say. Government, religion, it's all just patriarchy. I must insist you leave it one thing to me. Just leave it one thing. Just leave it one thing to me. Just leave this one thing. 'Cause I'm my brother's keeper every chance I can. And I pay my taxes like any working man. And I feel I've earned my right to choose. You don't get to play God, man, I do. You don't get to play God, man, I do. You don't get to play God, man, I do.
We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground, each other with our hearts. We're on holy ground. If life is a journey between birth and death, then every step we take matters with every breath. And each path we follow leads us somewhere or to someone to walk beside. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground. When we reach for each other with our hearts, we're on holy ground. If we are all pilgrims between here and there, then everyone we meet matters each day we share. And no one's a stranger, just a brother or a sister we didn't know. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground. When we reach for each other with our hearts, we're on holy ground. If there is a heaven beyond earth and sky, it's made of moments here that matter with you and I. There's no destination more full of grace than this place we meet again. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground. When we reach for each other with our hearts, we're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground. When we reach for each other with our hearts, we're on holy ground.
We are living with the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone, I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility, I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living neath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together. journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart. I am gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who have come before me band together and be my guide. Loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living neath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. When we get there, we'll discover all of the gifts we've been given to share have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living neath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I'll bow to no man's word. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it unrests. Come on, say.
Good morning. Let's try it again. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. My pronouns are he and him, and one of the ministers serving this religious community. And I welcome you on this beautiful rainy morning to Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jasmin Lee. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm one of the co-music coordinators.
Good morning, Jasmine.
Good morning, Abhi.
Are we on? Just trying to make sure we are being heard. We are now heard. That's better. We gather this morning as we have gathered for over 70 years on the traditional lands of the Nacotchtank people from which the name Anacostia is derived. They are part of the Piscataway group of tribes. We honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have protected it for generations.
We gather in remembrance of those who were enslaved and worked this land without choice or reward.
We gather in gratitude for all who have gone before us, whose love, labor, and sacrifice help create and sustain this, our religious community, its mission, and its ministry.
Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on life's journey, and whatever your beliefs, gender identity, immigration, or documentation status, you are welcome here.
If you're joining us for the first time today and feel comfortable doing so, please raise your hand so we may see you and recognize and welcome you if you're here in person. It looks like we're all old friends here. We welcome you anyway. And you're also, those of you who are joining us online from home, we welcome you. And please share your name and where you're joining us from in the chat. And you're also invited to complete the newcomer form that is being linked in the chat. And we also appreciate your doing that if you're here and haven't filled out one yet.
If you have been attending for a while and are interested in becoming a member of this religious community, please reach out to Nicole Singer, our membership coordinator. She's at the back.
Thank you,
of the room.
Nicole. And our pastoral visitors are an extension of our pastoral ministry and our ministry team, and they are available for support both here in person and online. And Lou Mayo is our pastoral visitor on call today. Thank you, Lou, for your ministry. And so, Jasmine, as is our usual custom, we have a couple of announcements.
Okay, the first slide, is it going to come up? Okay, we have our second concert from Concerts Cedar Lane. We welcome Rachel Carlson and the 6 Degree Singers. The 6 Degree Singers is a choir comprised of young professionals in the DC area, and their program is titled The Her Story of Music, music by women composers, featuring the choral music of women composers throughout the ages. It's next Saturday at 7 p.m., so I hope to see a lot of you there in person and on our YouTube channel.
It sounds wonderful. And we're going to be treated to one of their musical pieces for the postlude today, so stay tuned. That's a way we make sure you stay through the service. Something to look forward to. Community solar is an easy way to combat climate change and ensure a cleaner, safer planet for future generations. The community solar is here with us today. They will be available after the service in the courtyard. For anyone who is interested to know more and sign up, it is very easy. anyone who pays an electric bill can sign up at no cost. And you can also get more information from Sandy Dossie and Kathleen Holmay, who will be present there to answer your questions, and also encourage you to sign up. This is also a way to support Cedar Lane, because we benefit from everyone who signs up. So thank you for your interest and also for your support. And last but not least, last weekend, last Saturday, we had, I think, over 30 Cedar Laners who came together for the entire day to participate in Rebuilding Together Montgomery County, which was an awesome day of service in supporting a family in our county and helping out with cleaning the yard and doing all kinds of projects indoors. I just want to take a moment to recognize all who were present anytime on that day or the days preceding and also days following. Would you please rise so we may recognize and thank you for your service? Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And special thanks to Greg Falsino, our team captain, who managed the whole project so beautifully. He was just amazing and really brought us all together and made sure that we were working that day. And, and there are still some more things that are being done, ongoing things that need to be completed, which the hope is that we would be able to complete in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested to help out, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to connect you to Greg, or reach out to Greg Falsino. And so now, let us turn and greet and welcome each other, both in person and online. Thank you, members of the Bell Choir and Liz Peters, for ringing in hope this morning. We come together in worship with these words from the Reverend Dr. Rebekah Savage. Let beauty in. Let beauty in like waves lapping on the shore, covering the beach with foamy glee and soaking the sand like an embrace. Let beauty in. Let beauty in like the first sunshine after a rainy, cloudy day, filling hearts and homes with a radiance that brings delight. Let beauty in. Let beauty in like a wrapped gift from the Spirit of life herself as she offers to us, behold what creation can do. Behold, this is love made real that you can touch, taste, and smell all around you. May all that is pleasing and peaceful be nurtured here in our time of worship. May the sacred pulse within the space as we welcome and worship in beauty.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Babzz, and my pronouns are they, them. I am the worship associate for you guys today. As Kim Jones lights the chalice, please rise in body and or in spirit to share the chalice lighting words. Share in the chat where you are lighting your chalice from. We light our chalice, recognizing the beauty within, among, and around us, in voice and spirit. May we savor the beauty of our abundance and diversity, always cherishing one another as earth. May we remember to inhale lushness, knowing we are a people of beauty.
In body and or in spirit to sing For the Beauty of the Earth, number 21 in the Gray Hymnal. can take off your mask if you'd like. The ceremony in which we now join in is both ancient and timeless. In all parts of the earth and from the earliest days of which history bears us record, parents have brought their children to a place of worship, sharing their own thanksgiving and dedication with their family and friends. Our children come from us, but they belong to all humanity. Therefore, it is fitting that a child be accepted not only into the immediate family, but also into the larger family of a religious community, into our covenant of caring and mutual responsibility. We perform this religious ceremony publicly to declare that all of us, as representatives of a religious community, share in the common responsibility for the care and development of all children. It is our task to help them develop their ideals and their hopes. It is our task to help fashion for them a world of justice and peace in which to grow. Rebekah, you have published your own personality to your family before you were even born. But this ritual that we're going to enact today is our formal recognition of the amazing, awesome person you are becoming. That's the plan.
That's pretty good.
That good? Yep. All right. We begin then by calling you by name. Kim, please say the name of this child.
Rebekah Catherine Jones Watkins.
All right. Rebekah Catherine Jones Watkins. Let us say her name together.
Rebekah Catherine Jones Watkins.
Thank you. Having blessed Rebekah with the glory of her distinct and beautiful name, let us now join in an act of love and beauty to bless her with the elements of our common creation, elements lifted up by our ancestors. With earth, dirt, which is as strong as your given and developing frame, we bless you, Rebekah. Take care of yourself as a body. Grow strong and enduring, for you are a wonderful gift to this world. Be rooted in yourself. With air, which moves and changes even as your given and developing passions, we bless you, Rebekah. May you know contentment and discontent, joy and sorrow, anger and deep love in your life. May you always breathe the air of freedom. With fire, which illumines everything, as does your given and developing mind, we bless you, Rebekah. May the warmth of the fire bring you the warmth of love in your heart, the warmth that your parents provided you, a passion for living and for whatever work your hands and imagination find to do. Now comes the slightly messy part. With water, ancient symbol of purity and clarity and healing, Rebekah, we bless you. May you see clearly and speak the truth. When you are afraid, may you find your deep inner currents of courage, and when life has wounded you, and it will, may you feel the tide of the eternal rise to bring you to wholeness again. And with ether, the expanding space between the galaxies, the fertile void out of which emerges all existence. We bless you, Rebekah. May you be at one with the forces that shape, sustain, and reclaim all that was, is, and ever will be, the silent song at the center of the cosmos. May you live long and prosper. You're welcome. Kim?
Oops.
Having raised Rebekah, you already know
Yes.
the joy, the responsibilities, the challenges, and the privilege parenthood demands of you. You already know thoroughly the dedication, time, and strength of heart it requires of you. Therefore, I ask you to express your experience in the form of these promises. Do you bring self-examination, self-care, and the fullness of your vulnerability and strength to the raising of your daughter? If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Do you promise to be kind to her as she grows? Listen to her. Tell her your stories. Share your wisdom with her. And spoil her as well.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
I do. I do.
See, I told you I'll sneak that in. Right? Okay, where was I?
The spoiled part?
Oh,
Right.
that's right.
Yeah.
But always remember to bless her for being exactly who she is and no one else. If so, please say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. And do you, beloved members and friends of Cedar Lane Unitarian Universalist Church, promise your caring, your wisdom, and your support to Rebekah and Kim? Will you join Kim in providing for Rebekah's religious nurture and spiritual growth and undertake to maintain healthy and wholesome surroundings for her growth and spiritual education? If so, please say, we will. We will. Amen. And now, in the presence of all here gathered and in the presence of love, our true and our best means, you are named, dear Rebekah, and we dedicate you to the living of a good and graceful life. You are free to be who you are, free to grow into whom you shall become, safe in our love and our care. Be blessed in our words. Be blessed by your good and wonderful name. Be blessed. May it be so. Blessings. Let us welcome Rebekah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us center ourselves and enter into this moment, calling upon all the sources of love that are within, among, and around us. We gather in sacred space across time and space, a sanctuary amid the many challenges of life, a center from which we may gather strength, to face these challenges with courage and hope, faith and love. Within our Cedar Lane community, we send our love and best wishes to Reverend Katie Romano Griffin, and who is candidating this week at All Souls Unitarian Church in Indianapolis. Our caring extends beyond Cedar Lane to others whose lives are lost and whose lives are impacted by war, calamities, and the COVID-19 pandemic in our nation and in our world. We hold in our hearts the more than 1 million people who have died in the U.S. from COVID-19 and their loved ones who mourn their passing. We continue to pray for the people of Ukraine, the thousands who have died, and the millions who have been displaced from their homes. Our hearts go out to those who are enduring the ongoing devastation of war in our world. May these friends of ours, our companions in the world, and all the joys and sorrows we hold in our hearts be held in the embrace of silence. As we enter the silence together, those who are mourning a loss or marking an anniversary of a loss of a loved one are invited to rise in body and or in spirit to share their names in the chat.
The news that the U.S. Supreme Court is poised to overturn the Roe v. Wade decision is both shocking and not surprising. For many of us, it feels like a personal assault. It reopens old wounds that we believed long healed. And for most of us, it raises fears of what will come next. As we gather this morning, I'm holding especially those whose life experience is touched most directly by this decision or will be. Though in Maryland, we have fairly strong abortion access, overturning Roe would have devastating consequences for all those who can become pregnant in many states. It would significantly limit women's access to necessary medical care, negatively impact people seeking to make the family planning decisions most appropriate to them, and undermine bodily autonomy. It would disproportionately impact poor and working-class women, women of color, and trans people without means to travel across state lines to receive the care they need. The ruling could also endanger other rights, such as the rights to contraception, marriage equality, voting rights, civil rights. As a faith, Unitarian Universalism has supported abortion care and reproductive justice long before Roe v. Wade. We believe, and I quote, "decisions about children, families, and sexuality or some of life's most profound. We advocate not only for the freedom of those choices in each person's life journey, but also for the ability of all families and communities to realize a sense of wholeness with regard to their sexual and reproductive lives. We create safe and healthy environments for children in our faith communities and campaign publicly for just and compassionate laws for family planning, reproductive health, and gender equality. What we will need is faith that together we will overcome. In that spirit, I invite us now to join our hearts and our spirits in the spirit of prayer, reflection, and meditation. Nameless one of many names, Spirit of life and love, we are broken-hearted, afraid, and angry this day. This day, when we honor women and people for their mothering, for their influence, for the beauty they bring to our lives in this world that breaks our hearts with its sorrows and startles us with its beauty, we are faced with the reality of our broken system where women are not allowed to control their own bodies, where women's lives are put at risk, where birth is more important than life. We call out to you, O Spirit of justice, that we may find the courage to speak our grief, to share our disappointment, to raise our voices in rage, to mobilize against these threats, and to create networks of support. We pray that the hearts and minds of those who make decisions may be opened, and that they will use their power to alleviate suffering and to promote health and wholeness. O courageous love, inspire our minds, fire our spirits, and strengthen our wills, that justice and equity and compassion may always be our companions, so that we may embody your love, the love that will not let us go, let us down, nor let us off the hook. In the name of all that is holy, life-affirming, life-sustaining, we pray. Shalom, salam, Om Shanti, Amen. Blessed be. I invite you to stay seated and sing Spirit of Life, number 123 in the gray hymnal.
Spirit of life, come.
Every Sunday during worship, we give and receive an offering to sustain the mission and ministry of our congregation and in support of a community organization that is in alignment with our mission. The offering is a good time to remind ourselves that it is both symbolic as well as practical, because we know that it is only through financial giving that we can build our budget and fund our mission and ministries of worship and religious education, pastoral care, and social justice, pay our staff and professional religious leaders, and finance the comfort and beauty of our buildings and grounds. Thank you for all those who have responded to our stewardship campaign and pledged so generously to help us reach our goal of $950,000 this year. We still have a ways to go. And consider this an altar call to seek your support to those who are still considering to please make your pledge of financial support so that we are able to live into our mission and provide the ministry that Cedar Lane is reputed for. So I thank you in advance for all that you give and share to make this religious community happen. And today, we share our offering with the Interfaith Works Women's Shelter. The Women's Shelter is a 70-bed emergency shelter that serves approximately 300 women per year in our county. Case managers at the center work with women to facilitate recovery and stability, provide them a safe and secure place to be able to live, and connect them with housing, medical, mental health, social services, and also provide them with opportunities to find jobs. It is an important need that the Women's Center provides to women in our county. And Cedar Lane has been a long-time supporter of the Women's Center. Many of our members have volunteered their time and provided food and supported the work of the center. There are many ways we can give at Cedar Lane. We can give by electronic means, by text, online giving, PayPal, QR code, mailing a check to the congregation, or by sharing your love offering in the brass bowl located at the back of the sanctuary if you are here in person. However you choose to give, my friends, we are grateful for your support. Our offering will now be given and gratefully received.
back deep and far off land, and I am yours, I rest in you. Great Spirit, come and rest in me too. Great Spirit, come and rest in me too.
Thank you, Jenny Lynn, Rachel, Kevin, and Jasmin for that beautiful piece. The piano sounded good, but I think the flute would have been better. We were treated to Jasmin's flute playing at the benefit concert for this song. So, a confession. I'm not very good at drawing or painting. In fact, I am terrible. And it took my mother, bless her heart, 2 years and hundreds of rupees spent on an art teacher and a few sorry-looking still life drawings of mugs and balls and self-portraits to come to terms with that hard truth that her beloved only son would never grow up to be an artist. And I also know very little about art, especially modern and contemporary art. In fact, I get so disoriented and confused when I go to art museums and I am standing in front of modern art. Somewhat like Charlie Brown, who, when Lucy asked him, "Charlie Brown, in the great cruise ship of life, some people place their deck chairs to the fore and look at what's coming, and others place theirs to the aft and look at what's past. In the great cruise ship of life, Charlie Brown, which way is your deck chair facing?" To which Charlie Brown replies, "In the great cruise ship of life, I am one of those who cannot get my deck chair unfolded." But beauty interests me. And let me tell you why with a real-life story from the Reverend Dr. Bill Schultz when he visited a refugee camp in Darfur, Sudan, when he was serving as director of Amnesty International USA. Bill writes, "When I visited the enormous Kalma refugee camp in southern Darfur many years ago, 90,000 teeming people who had been burned out of their villages, I was struck, of course, by 1,000 things. The children who called out to us repeatedly the only English word they knew, ironically enough, okay, okay, with the thumbs up sign when nothing was okay, absolutely nothing. Or the tent-marked infirmary in which 12 people sat waiting for patients, their only medical resource, a box of Band-Aids. But what really took my breath away was this: a young woman who, amid the utter squalor and degradation, her clothes such as they were, tattered and falling off of her, but who wore around her neck a lovely piece of jewelry. Just glass, no doubt, but a turquoise-colored glass that sparkled constantly in the relentless sun. At first, I thought it was a religious symbol, and so I asked our Arabic-speaking translator to ask her what it was. She says, "It is me," he told me. Now, at first, I didn't understand and thought he had just said simply, "It is mine," that she had said simply, "It is mine," and that he had mistranslated. What did she say? I asked. Did she say it is hers? No, he said definitively. She said, "It is me." And suddenly I understood. This piece of jewelry, this small sparkling piece of glass around my neck, this is me. This is how I know that though I am mere brute flesh, bone, water, swollen tongue, my most private parts exposed for all to see, that though I am brute flesh right now in this horrific camp, I am not just that. I retain a tiny hint of my humanity. I require food to live, yes. So do the cows, goats, sheep, pigs, bless them all. But none of them decorate themselves with turquoise glass. Only humans do that. Only humans look on a sparkling piece of glass and call it beautiful. And I am a human being still. And then he continues. The reason refugee camps are such frightening places is not just because they strip us of our clothes and take away our food and deprive us of our shelter. The reason is because there is barely a whisper in them that we are more than a body, more than sheer facticity, that we have needs of the Spirit too. I don't think it's only starving refugees who feel that way. I think on some level it is true of every one of us. It is not just beautiful things that make us happy. Lots of things do that. It is that our ability to appreciate beauty is what makes us human. You see, as human beings, we need more than the basic necessities of life, critical as those are, and that need for more than food is what reminds us and reminds those who would harm us that at least until we lie crumbled in the dust, we have value. We have worth and dignity. And in this sense, you see, I think beauty really does remind us of who we are. Beauty is a human experience. It's something that has to do with how we react and perceive the world. Yes, it is subjective, but it's more than subjective, and it is not entirely subjective. There is a rich history of what people have found beautiful: music, art, poetry, dance, literature. And we can compare that to what scientists find in their deep investigation of what the world is, what the universe is, and see whether or not those things coincide. But we must have beauty. Religion cannot be of the abundant life of the complete experience without beauty. Everyone has some impulse to make beauty, even if they can't draw to save their lives. And when I think of beauty, some of the faces of those that I love come to my mind. When I think of beauty, I also think of beautiful landscapes that I know. Then I think of acts of such lovely kindness that have been done to me by people that cared for me, by complete strangers in bleak, unsheltered times, or when I needed to be loved and minded. I also think of those unknown people who you never hear about, who hold out on frontiers of awful want and awful situations and manage somehow to go beyond the given impoverishments of the spirit and the body and offer gifts of possibility and imagination and seeing and generosity. I also think of music when I think of beauty. I love poetry as well, of course, and I think of beauty in poetry. But beauty isn't just all about niceness and loveliness and kindness, we know. It is about a more substantial becoming. It is about an emerging wholeness, a greater sense of grace, a deeper sense of depth, a clearer sense of presence. Which is why I love John O'Donohue's definition of beauty. He says, beauty is that in the presence of which we feel more alive. Beauty is that in the presence of which we feel more alive. You see, he was poetic about the possibility of our own inner landscapes of beauty to keep us vital and alive in the midst of all the bleakness, the ugliness, the despair, and the tragedy that threatens to engulf us. He gave voice to the connection between beauty and those edges of life, thresholds, he liked to call them, where the fullness of reality becomes more stark and clear. Now, I don't want to make too much of a claim here. I don't want to claim that beauty alone is enough to save the world, or soften the brutal heart of a tyrant, or change the minds of Supreme Court justices. Remember that famous parable of the king who reached into a cage full of songbirds, picked one up, held it in his hand, and then twisted its neck slowly but certainly until the last spark of life had been squeezed out of that little creature, while tears streamed down his cheeks and he started weeping uncontrollably? Remember that parable? If you don't, there you go. And one of the remaining birds in the cage turned to a comrade and said, "You see, there is hope. The king cries." And the other bird replied, "Look at his hands, not his eyes. Look at his hands, not his eyes. Look at the draft, not their eyes." Beauty alone cannot save us. I get frustrated when people wax eloquently and poetically about the beauty of nature and say nothing or do very little about the reality of evil or the workings of power. I'm reminded of a cartoon from years ago in which the outdoor signs of an Episcopal church and a Unitarian Universalist church were both visible. It was Easter, and the Episcopal church sign read, "The truth and the power of the risen Christ." And the Unitarian Universalist church sign across the street said, "Upsy daisy." Upsy daisy. I'm sorry, but an upsy daisy theology is not good enough to save the world. At the end of his prophetic essay, The Fire Next Time, James Baldwin, after having exposed the dynamics of white supremacy and systemic racism, the devastating exploitations of racial injustice in this country, says, the question remains, what shall we do with all this beauty? What shall we do with all this beauty? Baldwin evokes the persistence and resilience of beauty, the face of the holy shining through human beings, even in the midst of all we do that defaces one another. He reminds us that the greatest challenge in life is the challenge presented to us by the beauty of life, by what beauty asks of us, what beauty demands of us, and by what we must do to keep faith with the beauty that has nourished our lives, that our privilege has allowed us to be nourished by all the beauty that we encounter in our world. Baldwin's prophetic call is not a call to outrage and pity. It is a call to all of us to come together before the sacred altar of beauty and be transformed by its gentle and fierce insistence that that which is lovely will not be defiled. And Baldwin's question is important because we are living in ugly times. And I'm not going to engage in a litany of all the oppression, all the injustice, the inequity, the violence, the hatred, the war, and the ecological devastation that we find ourselves encountered with, because it is all too familiar, all too visible. And part of the ugliness that we see is the ugly analysis, usually from the right, that claims that the social crisis that we find ourselves in is actually caused by those who are oppressed and marginalized, by people of color who demand opportunities, who dare to demand opportunities for education and employment, for LGBTQ people who want to be fully participating citizens, for women who want equality, immigrants and poor people who seek living wages and access to citizenship, and of course, progressives and liberals who encourage them all. And this ugly analysis says that the cure is to make the poor fend for themselves, the 140 million poor in our country. Close the borders on immigrants, eviscerate the social safety, social net, lock up more people, ban books, restrict healthcare access, dismantle voting rights, and roll back reproductive rights. But I don't want to share that litany. Going back to the question, what shall we do with all this beauty in these ugly times? The Reverend Dr. Rebekah Parker responds, I believe that beauty confronts us with the requirement that we place ourselves among the saviors, the redeemers, the leaders in the protection of life. The ancient story of Moses and the burning bush, she writes, tells us that once we have seen the bush on fire, once we have seen the beauty, we only have two choices. We either have to close our eyes to the beauty, or we have to go back to Egypt to set the people free. The labor of love for this earth and for one another requires us to go whatever distance it takes and is necessary to serve the creation with responsible devotion and wise care, and to defend one another against dehumanizing acts of prejudice and discrimination, oppression and injustice, with empathy and kindness, no less, including for those who may carry opposing and differing views on abortion or other things for that matter. Certainly, but to also be clear-headed and committed to really fight the good fight, and do that with passion and conviction. So, as we look upon beauty, wherever it may be, let us give thanks for it, because without it, we quite literally would not know that we were human and would not be inspired to be the best that we can be. Without beauty, we would have one less reason to care about justice and one less window through which to glimpse a glimmer of a large and abundant grace. So let me close with another story from Reverend Schultz. The great social activist Dorothy Day, founder of the Catholic Workers' Movement, was once speaking with a woman who was mentally ill, who was agitated and distracted. The psychologist Robert Coles, then a graduate student with the movement, tried to interrupt them, but she ignored him. So Coles tried again and was similarly rebuffed. And then Dorothy Day turned to Robert Coles and said, "Yes, Robert, what is it? Do you wish to speak with one of us? Do you wish to speak with one of us?" Beauty and justice. So let us see life's beauty and one another's beauty. Let us respond with acts of love and courage for justice, for choice, for equity, for liberation together. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Please rise in body and/or in spirit to sing Praise in Springtime, number 1005 in the Teal hymnal.
Praise to God and thanks we bring, hearts rejoice and voices sing. Praise to thee, glorious one, for a year of wonder done. Praise now for the budding green, April's resurrection seen. Praise now for the shining hours, starring all the land with flowers. Praise Him for the summer rain, feeding day and night with grain. Praise now for the tiny seed, holding all the world shall need. Praise now for the garden root, meadow grass and orchard fruit, and for hills and valleys broad, bring we now our thanks to God. Praise now for the snowy rest, falling soft on nature's breast, for the happy dreams of birth, brooding in the quiet earth, for this year of wonder done. Praise to thee, O glorious one, hearts rejoice and voices sing. Praise and love and thanks we bring.
These words of benediction from the Reverend Lynn Cox. Let us give thanks for the beauty of this day and for the company of those assembled here. Let us give thanks for the breezes of change, clearing our heads and bringing fresh ideas. Let us cleanse our minds of the oppressions and isms that divide us. Let us give thanks for the flame of hope, the heat of righteous anger, the warmth of compassion, and the fire of commitment. Let us give thanks for oceans of love, rivers of connection, tears of relief, and pools of serenity. Let us give thanks for the good earth beneath us, around us, and within us. May we take this clay and co-create a new realm of justice and beauty. Let us accept our gifts and commit to building, sculpting, painting, singing, and dancing them to life, to abundant life. Go in peace, go making peace, living gently, loving fiercely, and bowing to the mystery. Please be seated for the postlude.
Wading the water,